Hey, what's up, you guys? John here. Breaking news for California for 2021. I have the full plan of what's going to happen next year, and I'm going to go through it step by step in this video. This new normal that we live in, it's not the new normal for Gavin. Gavin Newsom, his kids go to private school. Private schools are open. They're open, and everything is fine because they have the money. They can do the safety guidelines, the restrictions, the social distancing. They can apply every single safety measure because they have the funding. Urban schools, public schools, they don't have the funding, and they have 30 to 40% more kids per classroom. So now those kids are learning from home, which creates tremendous stress on families. Doesn't matter to Gavin because all Gavin's plan is domination and power, and I'm going to break his plan down step by step. But before I do, please hit that like button. I want to get this out to enough people to where we can stop this man. I really want to stop this man because I love California, and I think what he's doing to it, it's going to destroy it, and it will never come back to what it once was. So please hit that like button. Let's begin. Here's the plan for opening back up California and why I think we're so far out from ever doing that. So for example, here's Gavin Newsom's plan that I'm going to read verbatim. Minimal is less than 1 per 400,000. We have 40 million people in California. So 40 million goes into 100,000, 400 times. So less than 400 cases in a single day would be minimal. Moderate is 1 to 3.9, and then 4 to 7% substantial, and more than 7 per 100,000. So how many cases have we had today? Well, today we've had 13,652. 13,652. So essentially we're 20 times more than what we would need to be just to break down into the lower tier. So let's add to the fact that now nurses in the state of California are going to be tested every single week. We have 300,000 nurses out of a population of 40 million, and they're going to get tested every single week. If just 1% of those nurses test positive, we'll be on lockdown. Just 1%. That's if we do not test the 39,700,000 other citizens in the state of California. No testing there, just nurses, we're still on lockdown. Did you know 40% of Americans have less than 1 month's worth of savings in the bank? Bill Gates recently gave Gavin Newsom a shout out on his Twitter for commending him for going above and beyond the CDC guidelines. And that being said, Bill Gates was recently interviewed about a week ago talking about what he thought about the restrictions. And they're saying that he believes not until 2022 will we resume back to normal, 2022. And if you look at Bill Gates' face at the end of this, when he talks about the economic damage felt to society, he's fighting a huge smile. It gives them nothing but joy. Look at his face at the end of this clip.
Economic impact in the U.S. and around the world has been much greater than the forecast that I made 5 years ago.
For every 1% of unemployment, we have 40,000 suicides. And so far in 2020, the divorce rates increased by 34%. And families that divorce for the next 5 to 6 years, they see their household income go down by roughly 40%. That being said, as we step into the biggest wealth transfer in human history, it's going to make it very difficult for the median and lower income levels to survive and thrive. The Federal Reserve just announced on their website for their plan for 2021. It reads as follows. The fiscal year 2021 print order of 7.6 to 9.6 billion notes is an increase of 1.7 to 3.8 billion notes, or 30.6 to 65.9% from the final fiscal 2020 order. What this means is that they were going to print so much money, and the middle class and the lower income levels, they have fixed expenses every single month. And as they print money, their expenses are barely going to be met, if they're met at all. Meanwhile, the elite, they're going to grow in tremendous power. They own assets and they have control. And they're going to use that control to dominate the 99%. So business and real estate are going to get hit really hard in 2021 through Gavin Newsom. And who's going to be most impacted? It's going to be the people that he swears to protect, especially the Hispanics and blacks. He said that your rage is real when referencing George Floyd and the protest. Yet, who's going to get most impacted by these restrictions, the business restrictions and housing? It's going to be the Hispanics and blacks, which occupy about half of the entire population of California. And here's why they're going to be more impacted than the whites and the Asians. The whites and the Asians generally are of higher education with financial backing, and they have a safety net to fall back on. Whereas most Hispanics and blacks don't have the same opportunity to fall back on that same level of safety. So they are going to get hit very hard, especially as the cost of employees goes up for their service industry jobs. And blacks, for the most part, 95% of their entire business, 95% of all black-owned businesses are solopreneur businesses, meaning one man or one woman operation. So their whole business is at jeopardy. Gavin Newsom, his plan is essentially to seize as much power and control from citizens in California. And the plan that he's laid out is going to do just that. So the eviction moratorium is going to break the back of California, and here's how it works. The state of California went above and beyond the federal government, above what CDC recommended. They put on a no income limit for a tenant to claim that they've been impacted by coronavirus, as well as pushing it out till February 1st, which essentially saves 224,000 tenants. However, tens of thousands of landlords are greatly impacted right now. Gavin just signed this into law, which I think will bankrupt probably 10, 20, 30,000 landlords throughout the state of California.
To avoid eviction, renters who attest to hardship due to the pandemic would need to pay at least 25% of the rent owed between September 1st, 2020 and December 31st, 2021. So if your rent is $2,000, you just have to pay $500 per month. Then any remaining amounts owed to the landlord would be converted to civil debt and could not be used as the basis of an eviction. Landlords would be able to file a lawsuit in small claims court to recover rent from tenants starting January 1, 2022. Small claims court has a cap of $10,000. So anything above that, you would need to hire an attorney. You need to hire an attorney, and the attorney is going to be very, very expensive. And if the tenant doesn't have the money, then good luck collecting. Then they go on to say if a tenant could not pay the 25% of the rent owed by December 31st, 2021, they could face eviction starting January 1st, 2022. Just note that the lockdown began in March, end of March. So right now it's been roughly 8.5, 9 months. So they want you to carry another 14 months, 13 months. So essentially 2 years of a potential problem.
So January 1, 2022, that is simply just to get your court date. So you might have another year or 2 years after that because the court systems are going to be so backed up in California and people know it. So they're taking advantage of it, and it's very widespread, and Gavin Newsom loves it because he put a new bill into law stating that he gets first right of refusals on all foreclosures. He doesn't want any corporations coming in to compete and buy these properties, these foreclosures that he's setting up. He's setting up a tidal wave of foreclosures, and he says, you know what, first right of refusal will be tenants who can qualify to buy property. So they need 2 years stable income, which they won't have. They need good credit and cash in the bank. Most of them will not have that. Then nonprofits appointed by the government, and then the government of California, the actual state of California, has first right of refusal to go out there and buy properties. So they're setting the stage so that they can take advantage of the situation. It is beyond unethical, and it's all established and set up by Gavin Newsom. You thought that was bad with real estate? Well, business is even worse. And here's why. Minimum wage just went up from $13 an hour to $14 an hour. So if you have 26 employees, they're all full-time, and you have to pay them each $1 per hour each. Over 4 weeks in a month, by 12 months in a year, it costs you almost $50,000 in additional expense. That does not include the sanitation stations, social distancing, the fact that you can't have indoor-outdoor dining. A lot of these are going to now be pickup restaurants, and you're going to be restricted on how many people can actually be inside of your business. In addition to that, if you have an employee that tests positive for coronavirus, you have to offer them workers' comp and paid leave for them to leave and do a quarantine. In addition, you have to notify all of your employees of a positive test result, and then everyone else gets tested. If anyone else tests positive, you have to offer them the paid leave and the option to go self-quarantine at home. So you are going to have a very hard time finding stable employees in the state of California, and things are only going to get worse as they expect to push the minimum wage to $15 an hour the following year. Big problems in the state of California for business owners as well as incomes. I believe incomes are going to fall in a really big way, especially as a lot of great opportunities leave the state of California over the next 12 to 24 months. So we can see Gavin Newsom has huge plans to destroy real estate and business and freedoms and liberties in the state of California. So what can we do? Well, we can like the video, and when we like the video, YouTube will share it. And the more people that see it, hopefully, the more that will stand up, and hopefully we can make a difference together. But in the event that that doesn't happen and Newsom gets away with it, we have learned something very valuable here. One is that the government's not your friend. No matter how much they get on one knee and kneel and talk oppression and pretend like they care about you and your family, all they care about is lining their own pockets with cash and becoming a dominant force over your life. That is the sad reality. And we're seeing that in places like New York and California and a lot of other states throughout the country. Now, what we can do is we can take that as a learning lesson. We can learn from this and understand that the only way to have true power in your life is to be financially free, really free. So whether it be owning rental properties, the key here is you don't know how low rents are going to go. So you want to be careful when investing with rental properties, you're not too leveraged and buy the wrong deal. If it's going to be stocks, understand value, understand what you're doing. Don't just dive in and follow hype. Be very, very, very cautious. The next 1 to 3 years, you're going to be imperative. You can generate a ton of security for yourself and your family if you know what you're doing. But if you don't, then you could ultimately really lose all the money that you have saved up. So that's the last thing that you want to do. So really learn, really study, be careful and patient, and focus on something that's going to change your life and set you up and your family up for long-term success. That is the best way to become free, and that is the best way to never have to be dependent on the government ever. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.